Welcome back to another episode of Carnage Unleashed. A lot of news this week. How you guys doing this fine Wednesday?
Doing good, man. This is my week before my spring break, so just coasting to the end. You guys remember being early 20s spring break time? This is my last one. My last one. I'm ready for it.
Nice. How you doing, Kev?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I wish I had a break coming up from the old day job, but no, we're excited. Lots of news, as you mentioned, not just in the octagon, but we've got some interesting little tidbits in the squared circle. So I am very happy to be here, and I know that Zach is fresh and ready. He's ready to attack the day with us, right, brother?
Oh, for sure. Just a little sick, but I've already taken like 3 hot showers. It's been glorious.
Good day.
But hey, with being off of work today, I got to rewatch the fights, so I'm ready to go. I'm ready to dive into UFC Fight Night tonight because that was a pretty good card that we had this past weekend.
Yeah, it was a really pretty good card. Started off with a lot of finishes. And...
no finishes till the main card, right?
Yeah,
I mean, all finishes until the main card. Sorry,
yeah.
There we go.
I like, well,
This is what always seems to happen when you have cards without a lot of name value, right? Like it's guys in there swinging the leather, trying to figure it out. We were 7 for 7 on the prelims. You never see that. Even UFC 300 wasn't like that.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, look insane. At this KO TKO KO TKO KO TKO KO TKO KO TKO sub. That's our prelims right there, boys.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Yep. Started off with Lithuania's Modestas. I don't know how to say his name.
That was close. I'm sure.
Better than that.
Getting the KO win, TKO win.
We got Nursultan Ruzibov. Yeah.
That name.
Yeah. The Uzbekistan middleweight walked away with KO, TKO. Austin Vanderford, Paige Van Zant's boyfriend, something like that.
Husband. He goes by Mr. Van Zant on his Instagram. I know that.
Smart. That's good branding.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, he walked away with a KO, TKO victory. That was a little interesting.
I was interested because for those of you who don't know, he was in Bellator, had an awesome run. Actually ended up fighting, was it Patricio?
I think so.
Can't remember. I think it was Patricio Pitbull. Ended up taking his first L in his career there, and then I was wondering how he would transfer if he came into the UFC, and starting off great.
Yeah. He's just a guy that came over from Bellator after the dissolution of the PFL. This was his first UFC fight, right?
Yeah.
And walked away KO winner. This was the fight where after the bell stuff went down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so after he got the knockout, Nikoliev,
that guy.
Worth it. Yeah, that guy just lost his mind after he lost. Like, there's no easier way to find yourself unemployed than by doing stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't know if Austin rattled something in his brain. He just was got a little angry because he thought something was going on. Yeah, but ended up pushing him.
Yeah.
I just remember he was walking around and I stared at him, got angry, and just pushed him. Austin was like,
you had 2 rounds to punch the dude in the nose, bro. Like, you had your chance. It reminds me of Paul Daly years ago punched Josh Koscheck, which Josh Koscheck was kind of an asshole, so that kind of makes sense. But punched him after the bell and got cut. Got banned from the UFC forever. Like that does happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, don't be. I mean, listen. You can be unsportsmanlike and stuff like that, but that is a little bit too far. If you know what I mean, you can taunt, you can say what you want, but when you start hitting the people outside of it,
Yeah.
That's
If you're
when
not Connor or you're not Khabib, then you can't do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even then, like, that's not the time really to try to build your brand. I understand as much as anybody the need to cut a promo and try to stand out amongst your peers to say, hey, well, if I can't be an undefeated champion, I need to be a draw. But there's a time and a place. And I would say, like, even Connor, some of the moments where he's cut some promos in defeat, it's sounded pathetic.
Yeah.
And it probably shouldn't have been done. And it didn't do anything to help his brand. Oh, your wife was in me DMs. Like, dude, shut up, bro. You had plenty of time to do something about that. And it just was a horrible look. And so, yeah, I think, and then you get into the fighter safety stuff. Like, to me, a late hit like that, especially a punch, like, as you should be fired, right? You shouldn't, I wouldn't want to see anyone doing business with you again after that, because it's one thing in between the bell. You've all agreed to this. You've signed your contract. You know what you signed up for. But in that moment when your defenses are down, to get sucker punched like that by a pro athlete, like, that could cause some major damage. That could end a career. That could cause complications for life, to get hit in the head like that and not see it coming. So there's just no place for it. You know, you get your work done between the bell. And after that, you know, work towards a rematch, but not in the first 5 minutes after the loss.
No. No.
It's still better than biting off an ear, though.
True. What would, objectively speaking, guys, say we're working a show, that happens.
When ear gets bitten off?
Yeah, somebody gets like
I'm zooming in.
All right, yeah, there we go.
Zoom.
That shot.
That's one of those moments, Clint, where we just let it marinate. I think we just mute our mics.
And I like take my headset off, and I'm like, what?
Clayton, it's not like we haven't been in this situation before.
True.
Mindless Mania. You and I were working it. Wade was working it because you got to see his head poke out of the back. And I'm sitting there with a camera taking pictures. I'm like, ooh, something's about to go down. I'm switching to video. And I switched to video, and these guys just start going after each other. And you're just like, oh, my God. And Dylan was asking me, he's like, dude, how come the biggest dude there is not stopping? I'm like, I'm production team now, man.
I was going to say, that's not my problem right now.
I'm here to film this, okay?
Yep.
That's one of the best shots we've ever gotten. Across everything. That's still one of my favorite shots that we've ever gotten.
I know, and I had to peek around to see what was going on. I was like,
you see him in my video of Wade's head, like, because we got that thing up. And Wade's head just is like, what's going on over here?
It's like right after everybody gets separated. He just like,
I know. I had some FOMO. I wanted to know. I wanted to be part of it. Shoot. So that goes into performance of the night. Ricky Simone with the TKO, KO. I like Ricky.
He's a prospect that they really should continue to build up, in my opinion. Yeah, he lost 3 straight fights, but like Song Yadong, Mario Bautista, is this Vinicius Oliveira? Yes, Vinicius Oliveira. That's quality competition.
Yeah.
Like you're not getting knocked out by guys who are making a living by hovering around in fight night cards or stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Those are ranked guys. Yep. And he's a prospect that does not get enough love, in my opinion. So I
think so too.
I was very happy to see him win.
Yeah, I mean, he handed Merab a loss.
Yeah, years ago.
When Merab first came in, Ricky handed him a loss coming into the UFC. Nice little welcoming gift.
Yeah, Merab was 1-2, I think, in his first 3 UFC fights. Or he might have lost his first 2, and one of them was Ricky Simone.
Yep. So, this kid's got a lot of talent. I like watching him. I think he's just so underappreciated.
Yeah, I 100% would agree with that. And then moving up, Mansour Abdul Malik. I think I got that. Knocked out Nick Klein.
Nice. Still undefeated.
Still undefeated. American prospect. Woo! I'm not gonna lie, guys. When I see an American prospect, I tune in a little bit more. I don't know if that's just a me thing. I don't know if you guys do that, but
yeah.
You see the odds on this thing? 1350.
Yeah.
Plus 800.
Like, no offense, but if Abdul Malik did not get a KO there, like I would have.
Somebody was making bank.
Yeah, somebody's mortgage for the next 10 years would have been fine. Like, then you got Meliquiziel Costa submitted Andre Fili. That's a good win.
Yeah.
Andre Fili's a legit guy. He came in as the favorite, but it's one thing to be the favorite on paper and another thing to actually go in there and do it. So
Yeah.
I was fairly impressed with that win. And then to round out the prelims, Ion Kutaleba from Moldova submitted Ibo Aslan from Turkey.
Sure.
Close enough.
Yep.
7 for 7. Not as a fight fan. This was important for the UFC too because it was a live show. Like, it's in front of like a big audience in an arena. So that, in my mind, that really helped everybody out. And then moving into the main card, I think Alonzo Menafield kept his job by winning that fight.
I don't think he won that fight. I'm gonna seriously, I'm gonna go out on my limb and I'm gonna say that Walker actually won that fight.
What do you think he did better?
It was just, I mean, if I'm remembering, Alonzo had more striking. No, he didn't.
He had one less strike.
Yeah, Walker, for me, controlled the fight for the most of the fight. I mean, don't get me wrong, the fight was sloppy after the first round because they were just big boys that were tired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was sloppy. You had eye poke. You had a cup shot. But just in my opinion, I would have given Walker this split decision win. I mean, it was a close fight. You can see it was a split decision. But I would have given Julius Walker the win over Manifield Menafield.
Just so on paper, if you look at this strictly on paper, outstruck him. Granted, it was by 1. Outstruck him, but he threw more headshots, which probably objectively looked a little bit better. But he got controlled for 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He won the stand-up game and technically won the ground game. So, like, how are you not giving him this fight?
Lost his undefeated record, too.
Yeah. I mean, he was 16 for 16 for leg kicks. I mean, bodies, he was 33 for 43. And in heads, he didn't hit too many of that. I mean, he only threw 112 and landed 37, but still.
Yeah. Would you have had him win in 1-2 and then possibly losing that third?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would have saw if they would have gave it to him. I would have had him winning 1 and 2, losing the third.
And then losing the third.
Yeah.
But they're both USA boys, so I guess I've got too much to complain about.
Can't be too hurt. But
I would have liked to have a 7-0 USA guy. I mean, we've got a 8-0 USA guy, but
we have 15-6 USA guys out there, I'm sure. And then John Silva, Melseek by not even not worth
I was like,
guys.
that's a brave one.
That Armenia.
Yep.
Huh. He just straight up knocked them out. I mean, that was just beautiful. Right down the middle, hand down the middle, boom, he popped him. The guy fell over. He just kind of looked at him, looked at the ref, was like, "You want me to continue beating him up?"
Like,
okay, I will. And then he gets on and just starts hitting his body. So I respect him for that, not just targeting the face. So
well,
he knew
he started off with the killer instinct because he hit him like 1, 2, and then he's like, let me just go.
Yeah.
Laura John Silva, he's a fighting nerd. He's one of the fighting nerds. That's like the hottest MMA gym out there right now, I would say.
Yeah.
The story here is very interesting, and I'm not like a complete expert in it by any means, but from what I've gathered, it sounds like just some rich dude who liked MMA just dumped a bunch of money into a facility, and I think it's in Sao Paulo. It's in Brazil somewhere, but just dumped a bunch of money into a facility and just trains MMA fighters now. They have a bunch of guys in the UFC that have been winning fights. Like I know Cal.
Do the same thing.
Yeah, seriously. Like Cal Bohio, he's also a fighting nerd. John Silva, obviously, like we mentioned, they got a couple other guys. John Silva's now 4-0. Like, clearly they got something going on down there.
Yeah.
And then moving up, Rob Font, split decision over, I think it's John again, John Masamoto.
This was a grappling, right? Like this was basically just a grappling match. And it was good. I mean, I thought Font did a fantastic job of controlling majority of the fight. I mean, I think it was after the first round, Jean flipped him and started throwing a whole bunch of elbows and got some good clean cuts in on that. But
I thought Font looked real good.
He trains up in Montreal now. I think that move was probably the way to go, objectively speaking. Rob Font was just one of those guys that could never beat the guy that he needed to beat.
Yep.
Like he's just a perennial middle of the pack ranked guy. Like we'll get to this in a minute. He's kind of like Brendan Allen a little bit, I think. But good to see him get a win for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then it moves on to the co-main, your boy, good old Fluffy.
Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, baby. Walked away. UD over Brendan Allen.
As he deserved it.
Yeah.
I think he
dominated
that fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. Although, I will say, their scrambling looked a little sloppy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah. But 10 minutes of control time. Like,
Wait. I mixed those up. The last fight I was talking about was this fight.
Oh, well.
that makes more sense because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, dude, there's no way that Font only had 118 or a minute and 18 control time. I'm like, dude, these guys were grappling the whole time. I'm like, what am I talking about? Yeah. So don't mind me, guys. I'm just an idiot.
No, you're good. But most of that fight has already been broken down. Like, good grappling match. I really do think Fluffy deserved the nod. Like I think so. There's nothing in my mind that makes me think Brendan Allen could have won that fight. Brendan Allen posted on Instagram afterwards, he's not the fighter he thought he was. So he is.
I think a little bit.
I think that we're gonna see Brendan Allen off for a little bit. I don't know if he'll fight again this year.
Work on get down and work on some technique and redevelop himself probably.
And then I think Fluffy is one more win away from a title fight.
Think
objectively.
So?
Yeah. I think he'll fight Izzy or Sean Strickland next.
That's huge. I love that, dude. That's going to sell so many t-shirts. A champion named Fluffy. Come on, man.
Yeah, dude.
Make a lot of money with that.
And then moving up to the main event, Song Yadong walked away with listed as a unanimous decision, but
controversy there.
Yeah, so Song Yadong, let's just get this out of the way now. Song Yadong was dominating that fight.
Yeah.
Like there is
straight working Henry up and down.
Yeah. Nothing about that fight made me think Henry Cejudo had a chance to win. I pokes him at the end of the third, right?
Yeah.
Walks over to his corner, and the first thing that he says to his corner, I can't see. Fight's over. Like, fight should be over at that point. I can't see. You can't fight a dude if you can't see him.
Yeah.
Like, I get in fighting, the whole never quit mentality is very real. I understand that, but like, dude, that's a safety thing at that point. Like that.
We had one like only a week or two ago. That guy where the doctor called it for something similar because the guy couldn't see out of one eye.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, very cut and dried on that one. Like that's the most unsafe thing you could do of all the injuries you're not allowed to fight through. It can't be your vision, right?
Yeah, which Bisping did and lost an eye.
Yeah, exactly. But gentlemen, I do want to hear what you guys have to say. So Jim Miller, who's up to 58 MMA fights now, so obviously Buddy's been around for a little bit.
Just a little bit.
He threw his hat in because we hear a lot like, oh, we should see new gloves. Like Joe Rogan talks about this all the time. We need new gloves. Trevor Whitman designed a great glove that like keeps your hands down. Fingers shouldn't even be open, that kind of thing. Jim Miller says it's not the gloves, it's the culture. The shameless win at all costs mentality amongst fighters and the eye pokes are an accident, not a foul mentality most people seem to have are the reason that it happens so much.
Yeah,
I blame John Jones.
Real.
I feel like there's some.
He blames
Real.
John Jones for everything.
Real.
It's true, but
I
you
feel
know,
like
a
there's
broken
some weight
clock
to that,
can be
though.
right twice a day.
I feel like there's some weight to that though too, because like Henry Cejudo, he was really vocal about it. Like you heard him, man, that should be a point. I mean, he got kicked down low, and then I didn't think it was that bad. And then they slowed it down. Like it was knuckle.
He got him.
But yeah,
He got him pretty
double
good.
eye poke too. And but I think so. Like I think if they crack down on it more, and you start getting those points taken, and it's consistent, you think your fighters are going to be more wary of how they're putting their hands out and stuff because they don't want to lose that point.
Have it cost you a fight. Have it cost you a round when you do it, and then have that, and then lose that split decision. I bet you won't do it again.
Yeah,
it's kind of
maybe
like
an accident, but
it happens.
It happens.
It happens.
In the NFL, when they decided that there was no more 5-yard face mask, it was just, listen, we don't want you hitting people in the head, and if you do it at all, it's the maximum penalty, accident or not. We don't care anymore. Don't even have your hands up there, you know. And it's there will of course be a controversial call or two in that process of getting folks where they need to be. But for me, it's necessary, because if you can poke somebody in the eye at least once a fight and you know you're just going to get a warning, what is to stop people from poking their opponent in the eye every single time they fight? It needs to be I'm sorry, you need to be stricter about this stuff and get it out of the sport, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just be more strict on it, because it comes down to too much of like referees, or like it's like, oh, what do they think or how they feel about this, and then they don't. Not everybody's being as strict, and it's just up and down. So people are getting away with it. If it's just strict across the board, this is how it is. This is the rule. Accident or not, you get a point.
Blanket policies work. They, at least in that regard. So I'm more in favor, because like hypothetically speaking, you can warn people, but the first warning comes in the back, right? Like you go over the rules. Like, everybody knows what's going on here. Like it's not. I'm tired of eye pokes, boys. I'm not gonna lie. I'm tired.
It's been so many. I feel like in the past year, like fights getting ended because of these eye pokes.
Well, and you guys want to talk about the rules. Well, the problem is that the rules change from state to state.
Yep.
So there's another problem that you got to deal with. So the rules that you got in California are not the same you got in Ohio, you know, and it's not the same in Texas, not the same in Florida. They're all different. It all depends on that state's commission. So you're going to have to get everybody on the same page to get this done, which I feel like the UFC has enough pull that they can do that. But is that going to trickle down into your amateurs? And, you know, like when we put on shows, is that going to be taught to the referees that are going to be refereeing Carnage Fight Series shows?
Yeah.
Or is it just going to be UFC crap?
To some degree, though, all of these guys, for the most part, right, not to belittle any of the other promotions out there, but 98% of these guys, if they want to go pro, they want to be in the UFC. So to me, it kind of stands to reason. If you know there's a certain code of conduct in the UFC, like that's what you're going to attune yourself to. It's sort of like a college wide receiver. Those guys, the ones that want to go to the pros, they're not content to get one foot down in bounds. They are practicing constantly. I've got to get both toes in, because at the level that I want to be at, that's what the rule is. And so I want to be prepared to excel when I get there. I don't want to have to learn how to play that sport that way when I finally get to the league. So to me, I think you're right. On one hand, like the commissions, the promotions themselves may not police it as much, but if it is known across the board, hey, boys and girls, if you want to be in the UFC, don't have this in your tape. Like, don't let us catch you poking 3 people in the eye, or you're not going to get that contract, because we don't want it here. And I think, you're always going to have your outliers, but I think the ones that really want to be there, that would take it seriously, would know, okay, this could cost me way more than it's worth just to get an advantage in this one fight. That's my thought on it, at least.
Yeah. I would second that. Everything you say, I think could possibly definitely work. And when you have that top standard, UFC, NFL, whatever it is, and that trickles down to the people that really want that, they definitely start.
Which is again why this is John
Buying.
Jones's fault, because if the pound for pound best fighter in the world wasn't always poking people in the frickin' eyes, there wouldn't have been so many people looking to emulate it. Were people shooting volleyball half court line threes before Dame Lillard and Steph Curry? No, they were not, because it trickles down from the tops. This is your fault, John.
This is your fault, John.
Do better.
And to just add on to that, the UFC needs to start with Nevada. If you can get the Nevada State Athletic Commission to do it, which I would argue is seen as the gold standard for the most part in the combat sports world, it will more than likely happen. Conveniently enough, the UFC is located in Las Vegas.
Yeah, especially when you get like freaking 50 fights in Las Vegas a year. Like,
Yeah.
Right. Like, you got to start with Vegas. Do I think it will happen? Yes, I do. I think eventually we will start. They're not going to change the gloves. They tried to do that last year. Didn't like it.
Nope.
They're not going to do it. They're going to start penalizing people, I think. Because more and more we're seeing main events like get canceled. And Dana's already said he doesn't want to do that fight again. So like it's not realistically, I'm trying to think of the way to word this. Song Yadong won the fight, but he didn't really go anywhere, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
it kind of hurt his didn't really like hurt his stock, but like didn't
help him by any
didn't help it at all, because I mean, if he would have went all 5 rounds working Henry like he did, then obviously his stock
that would be completely different. But he did
kind of get a little tainted with the little eye poke.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
Yep. Nope.
Then
what a bummer, right? You put all that work into a fight camp and you have a fight and then you win and then you get, nothing.
Yeah,
it's almost time wasted. Yeah.
But I think that about wraps it up for UFC Fight Night. Let's jump into this week's card, and then let's do everything else that happened.
Yeah. And all the updates.
Yeah. Boys, I'm not going to lie. I said this last week. This card on paper is very thin. Very, very thin. There's not a whole lot of name value here. But what you do have is you have a couple of guaranteed bets to hit. And I'm backing this up with Zach's credit card if anybody needs a refund. So, guarantee number 1, Austin Lane gets knocked out. He gets finished with a KO. He is a former NFL football player. He played with, I believe it was the Lions and the Jaguars. He might have been with the Colts for a little bit too. But like former 6th round pick, practice squad guy. I've said this before, but I am a big fan of seeing NFL washouts transfer into mixed martial arts. Like those are world-class athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a guy who could have played defensive back in the NFL will be just fine athleticism-wise in fighting.
He's 6'6", 251 pounds. That is a big boy.
He's a big dude. He was a defensive tackle, I think. He's either defensive end or defensive tackle. But his problem is he keeps getting chinned. Like every single time this guy steps in, he's getting knocked out for the most part in the UFC. Like he has a loss to, I believe it was Justin Tafa. Yes, Justin Tafa. Yep. Knockout loss after an eye poke. Crazy how that works. Eye poke, no contest. And then he had another knockout loss in the second round. I watched that fight. He looked fine in the first round. Got caught, got put to sleep. Happens. Welcome to MMA. And then he had his only win was a unanimous decision over the now GFL heavyweight and Taekwondo champion, Rebellis Despainge, I think is how you say it. He's French. I don't know. Or no, he's Cuban. Something like that.
That's the big boy, right? He was like 6'7".
Yeah, he was huge.
Yeah, he was
absolutely massive. But right now, his only win is against a guy that's not in the UFC anymore. And he's going up against 9-0 Portuguese prospect Mario Pinto.
Yep. He's Dana White Contender Series. This will be his debut in the UFC.
Yeah.
But this guy is also a pretty big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was a champion on the regional scene. Got a quick knockout on the Contender Series. Gentlemen, I heard this statistic today and it kind of blew me away. How many heavyweights do you guys think are actively signed to the UFC roster?
25.
25?
I'm going with 25.
I'll go 36.
30.
It is 30. Attaboy, Kev.
Let's go.
There are 30 heavyweights. in the
He
UFC
just split the difference. It doesn't count.
Just playing the game.
But yeah, I heard that on a podcast that I listened to, and I was like, no way. And then I looked it up, and yeah, there's 30 guys in the heavyweight division right now. That is crazy.
That is crazy.
And then just moving on down, Charles Johnson. He is I believe he's a flyweight. Yes. He's been around for a while. He is another name that I just happened to recognize on this card. He had 4 fights last year. That was the main reason that I recognized his name. Interesting one to watch there in the early part of the prelims. Moving on up the card, Cody Brundage, who fought on UFC 300, boys. Do you guys know who he fought?
Cody Brundage.
When I say it, it'll make sense.
I remember watching the fight. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember.
He fought Bo Nickel. That was the guy that
Nickel,
Bo Nickel fought
yes.
at UFC 300.
Yep, because they were talking about wrestling, and Brundage was wrestling's not that bad. Yeah, they're just going back and forth about it.
Yeah. So we'll see how he does. He's the co-main. 9-0 welterweight prospect, another American guy, Danny Barlow, minus 320 favorite. So definitely worth keeping an eye on him. And then in our main event, we have flyweights. Manuel Kape versus Asu Almabayev. Sure. Kazakhstan. Yep. We've all seen Manuel Kape, I feel like, at this point. His big story with him last year was him and Muhammad Mokaev hated each other. That was kind of their beef for the year. That was not really the most fun fight in the world, but you should have seen the amount of security they had in between these guys. These are little guys too, and I would bet there were 15 security guards in the cage making sure that they didn't get after each other. Before
watch out for them little guys.
Yeah, seriously. But what most people don't know is that he does have a win over former title challenger and a knockout win at that, Kaya Sakura, over in Ryzen. So, and he has a loss to Pantoja before Pantoja was the man, but he's been solid in the UFC so far. He's 6-3. Flyweight needs people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, flyweight needs contenders. Flyweights and heavyweights always need people.
Especially flyweight. You know how hard it is to find flyweights even
I don't
down
actually.
Here?
Could you walk me through how hard
it is so gosh darn
flyweights?
difficult. I don't know if I've told you once, I've told you a million times, but it's difficult as hell to find 125ers.
Right. And that's true to every level of the sport.
Yeah.
So in my mind, the UFC wants him to win this fight. He's an extreme couture guy. So that's a big gym. It's a big popular gym. And I don't with his sheer body of work. Like, he's fought great guys. He fought
great guys, yeah.
Yeah, fought Muhammad Mokaev. Came up short, but he still fought him. That's octagon experience. Knocked out Bruno Silva in Tampa. Like, he's been in there with some of the best guys in the world. And when you just look at his opponent's record, he has 4 UFC fights and he's won them all. But experience on the regional scene is not UFC experience.
Exactly.
Vastly different. Unless you're coming over from like a Bellator or something like that. But I'm going with Kape. Probably going the distance. So we'll say unanimous decision.
I'm agree with you there. I think it's going to be a fast-paced, high volume. I think they're going to be doing a lot of kickboxing.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Kev loves that.
Can't wait.
Speaking of kickboxing, boys, might as well jump into everything that's happened. We're going to start with the thing that's going to happen the most recently. Dan Hooker, broken hand, out of his fight with Gaethje. I cried myself to sleep last night, but we can move on from that.
I know. I was so sad when I heard that. I'm like, dang it. But I was watching DC, and DC was saying that he called up Justin and was like, so what are you going to do? He was like, do you know who you want to fight? And he goes, I don't care.
Just
Justin's
get me somebody.
I don't care. Give me somebody. I'm fighting.
That's
why I love Justin.
There are 3 names, gentlemen, that I've seen that can come in and replace them. 2 are likely to happen, in my opinion. One of them is not, but it's kind of funny, so I'm going to share it anyway. The first one, Arman Sarukian, just had that fight cancellation against Islam. Could be looking for a fight. He's probably still in semi-decent shape if he's been working out. Option 2, Money Moicano. Quick loss to Islam, but the benefit of that is he didn't take any damage, right? So, and he's more of a stand-up guy anyway. So, him being in there with Gaethje would be super fun. The third one that I keep seeing is people want Bryce Mitchell to go in there and fight him. So
they just want Bryce Mitchell to get some.
They want Bryce Mitchell to
damage.
Yeah, this one's picked off, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. That one won't happen, but I would like to see, personally, if I had to pick, Gaethje versus Moicano. That is what I would go with.
It's gonna be a slugfest and very, very entertaining.
As long as the MMA gods don't rob me of seeing my sweet baby boy Alex Pereira get in there again.
Yes.
And then another update. So we have a main event for UFC 315. Everyone's least favorite welterweight champion, Bilal Muhammad, makes his first defense against not Shavkat Rakhmonov, Australian hero Jack Della Maddalena, 3-name Jack. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I don't like this fight. I'll be completely honest. Jack Della needs more time. He's only 28, and his signature win right now is against Gilbert Burns. Yeah, that is a good win. Is that enough to get him a title shot? 5 years ago, sure.
Don't know if it's enough to give him a title shot, but
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's on an 8 fight win streak though in the UFC.
I'm rooting for Jack though.
But at the same time, if you go back and watch it, Jack Della Maddalena was getting his butt kicked before.
He was.
This was the first weekend that I could legally gamble on sports, and I picked Gilbert Burns to win this fight. And I remember sitting there, third round. It was after a show that we worked, and I was like, "Oh, we got this in the bag. I'm about to hit a bet. Let's go!" Knocked out the third, and I was like, "Well,
yeah." I think it was by elbow too, because I was.
Yeah.
It was the ego show that we did.
That's game for you. Yes, I was driving back from Piqua.
Yep. Driving back from Piqua, and I was loading up, and I was kind of watching it. I'm loading up, and I looked away, put my phone down, picked it up. I'm like, "What? What just happened?" I was rooting for Burns on that.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, guys. I didn't like his decision win over Kevin Holland either. I really thought Kevin. Yes, absolutely, Gary. Stepping in against Islam on a day, that's gangster shit.
You got to reward that kind of behavior, right? That's what you want, more of that in the sport.
Yeah. And granted, I'm sure they gave him a pretty penny to get in there with him, but you gotta give the guy not a title fight, but a shot at a fan favorite if he wants it here.
Oh, for sure. I would agree with that. And
then, boys,
I'm rooting for it.
3-name Jack was supposed to fight Leon Edwards March 21st in the UK. Or March 22nd. That is no longer happening. Philadelphia's finest, Sean Brady, has stepped up to do it. Sean Brady's been around forever at this point. Has a win over Gilbert Burns. That was his last fight. Going up against former champ Leon Edwards. What are we thinking here?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Just for context, Sean Brady's a little bit more of a jiu-jitsu guy, so he's gonna he can strike, but he's best on the ground.
He's gonna want to go to the ground.
Yeah, and Leon Edwards is not. Leon Edwards,
classic striker grappler, where the grappler is just gonna be trying to hold him up against the fence and trying to take him down.
And without a fight camp, full fight camp, Sean Brady is still listed as the favorite. Like that shows you how good he really is. And then Kevin Holland's on that card, but I'm not talking about him, so we're gonna move on from that. But UFC 314 down in Miami. The UFC's started to go to Miami once a year now. We got Volk versus Diego Lopez for the vacant featherweight title. Ilia Topuria announced that he was vacating the belt to move up to lightweight. Wade, let's start with you. What do you think of this fight?
Hey, I told you about that boy Lopez back in, what was it? Who was he fighting? I forgot who it was. And you guys didn't think that he was going to pull it out, but Lopez is a dog.
Yeah.
Lopez is a dog. But it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be a real challenge to see like his true hype. Like, is it going to pan out? Because Volk is going to be that test for him. Because Volk's been there. He's been there multiple times.
Yeah.
And arguably one of the best to ever do it. So
it's impossible. You can't overlook Alexander Volkanovski.
Yeah.
Last couple fights or not. You can't overlook the guy. But this is his last shot in my mind. If he doesn't win here, especially if he gets finished again, it's over.
Oh, for sure.
This is it.
My boy Volk is not going to lose to a guy with a haircut like that. I am sorry, but he's not. Bald guys all the way. We are going to be victorious. He's going to take that belt home.
I am going to say this is Volk's downfall. Lopez right now is firing on all cylinders. He's
also never fought someone like Volk who can stand and he can go to the ground. Volk is a breed in his own. You have to admit that he is.
I totally understand it. He's 36.
Yeah.
Diego Lopez 30. Black belt in jiu-jitsu. He holds his own in submissions and on the ground game, but also can throw. Younger, better chin, edges it out, I believe.
I don't think he edges it out. I think he loses.
Well, gang, I think it's time for me to get back on the old guy train. All right. We were 2-2. Then we stayed away from it last time. I'm going Volk, man. You can't tell me he's too old. All right.
I want to be like
one more run.
I want to be like, that's dumb. But the last time I told all of you, I tried to talk to all of you about MMA aging, I was 0 for 2. So that being said, I'm still going Diego Lopez. I don't care. Like I'm still going Diego Lopez.
That is awesome.
He's so hot right now. Like, you know what I mean?
All cylinders.
The UFC put him on UFC 300 for a reason. Like, they're not going to give him that spot if they don't think that this guy can be a champ one day. And they're giving him the title opportunities. So give me Diego Lopez here. And then we got a banger of a co-main here as well. Everyone's favorite, I don't even know if you'd call him a wrestler. He's like modern day Chuck Liddell. Iron Michael Chandler taking on Patty the Batty Pimblett. This is interesting, dude. Like, Michael Chandler has about half a brain cell when he enters the octagon.
I don't know why either. He is great, but he just goes in there and just like,
dude, he gets out game planned every time he steps in there. Like, you know what I mean? It just you can go in there and sprawl and brawl with like Justin Gaethje. Yeah, that'll probably work. But like, Patty is so tricky on the ground. He is one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the lightweight division, in my opinion. You can't shoot on the guy. It's not going to work. I remember I texted you guys when Bobby Green shot on him and ended up getting subbed like right away. I was like, why would you shoot on Paddy Pimblett? That's like the dumbest thing that you could do. So solely because Iron Michael Chandler, as exciting as he is, does not have a brain in his skull, give me Paddy.
I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to say Paddy pulls that off probably by submission round 2. Only because Chandler's going to go in there swinging, get a little wild. Pimlett's going to take advantage of a takedown. That's my prediction.
Yeah,
we will see, though. Paddy has said after I think it might have been after after his first or second UFC fight. I'm a Scouser. We don't get knocked out. I don't know if you can play that game with Michael Chandler.
No, you don't want to do that with Michael Chandler.
He's got fighting
power.
words.
He's got power too. He's no slouch. He's a little tank. He is built like a brick house, and half a brain cell to use that too. So
well, I got off the phone yesterday with Michael Chandler's camp. They said he's got 2 brain cells now, so I'm going with him for the win against Paddy.
There we go.
Well, I'm jumping on board with you boys because I've already had my one crazy pick for this one. So yeah, give me Paddy.
Did you guys see the little Twitter beef or something was going on with some other dude? I don't know the dude's name, but they did a sparring match. And everybody huddled around, and Paddy ends up taking dude's back and rear necks choke him. He's tapping, and Paddy's just not letting go. And everybody had to came in, I had to rip him off and everything.
Listen, guys, you can talk crap on Twitter all you want, but at the end of the day, if you get in there with a guy like Paddy, that's not going to work well for you in a grappling sense, especially like that. That's not going to work. He's as good on the ground as anybody in the world.
It blows my mind when people decide to get in there. It wasn't that long ago where some kick streamer was sparring with Sean Strickland for a few minutes. The Sean's going 30% and just destroying this guy. It's why? And I can maybe see it from someone beyond a casual if they look at Strickland and they think, oh, he kind of looks like he's just standing there. He doesn't look like he's doing too much, but you've got to be just a psycho to think you can handle 30 seconds with anybody that's had a UFC contract at any point. These guys could be 65, and if you're a dude on Twitter, he's going to stretch you. There's no doubt about it.
It will happen. He will win. It's
so goofy.
That would be example here would be me walking up to Dylan and being like, hey man, I will take you down and submit you. No, I won't. No, I won't. That is simply not gonna happen. You can talk trash on Twitter. Don't go meet the guy. Do not go meet the guy. It will not end well. I've talked about this before, but one of my favorite tweets ever was some dude told Paul Felder that he was garbage and he needed to retire, and he's like, you feel big and tough saying that on Twitter? How would you do that if you were saying that? Would you say that to my face like a man? And the guy goes, nope, you kicked my ass. That's why I said it on Twitter.
Right.
And Paul Felder was like, all right, yeah, I'll buy that.
Respect.
Yeah. I don't get it. Maybe that's because I have common sense.
So Gary's going with you, Zach. Okay, I like it. Said Paddy doesn't wrestle good enough to deal with Chandler. Won't get him to the ground. Will have to win a firefight. Well,
it's possible.
If it goes that way,
it is possible.
Yeah,
I don't think I can agree with you. Paddy's wrestling isn't that good to just take him down straight up.
Yeah,
I think if he goes to the ground, it's going to be because Chandler got too wild, got out of position, and then he capitalized on it.
When I think of Michael Chandler, I can't stop thinking about the Poirier fight. In my opinion, he won the first 2 rounds.
He did.
He really, I think he did enough to win. And then he got wild in the 3rd and got subbed.
Yep.
It happens. And to this day, Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler is my favorite 3-round fight I've ever watched before in my life. That was November of 2022 at MSG. I was at B-Dubs in Bowling Green. Some fights you never forget, boys. That's on my list. I think that was the fight of the year in 2022.
Speaking of Poirier, I watched an interview. He dropped some news. Retirement fight looking to be in New Orleans this summer.
Who?
Dustin Poirier. So, I mean, he's been in the UFC for a long time. Like, obviously, he's fought all the best. Fell short, been the champ.
Yeah, he's going to head off to the GFL next year.
So he wants his retirement fight to be in New Orleans at home. So he's been fighting to see if they can get a card down in New Orleans this summer. So
yeah, UFC hasn't
been
have
a party
since,
New Orleans.
UFC hasn't been there since 2015. So that'd be fun. Like you could just do it at the Pelican Stadium, right? Like They have a venue, they have the fan base. Obviously, he's from, which I don't know if you guys know this, but DC and Dustin Poirier are from the same hometown.
Really?
They're both from Lafayette, Louisiana. They went to the same high school, I think, actually.
Small world.
Yeah, seriously. So I would love to see DC interview Dustin after a KO win. I don't even know who I would want him to fight, but after a KO win in Louisiana, I think that would just be the best possible send-off.
Well, real quick. Old Hessen had
Hey,
what's up?
Hurricane. What's up, Mike?
he's going with Chandler and Volk. Yeah.
He's been
Volk's been
off
long
long
enough.
enough
That's
to
true.
recover. Okay.
I saw he said today, I love this time off so much. I don't know how I'm going to go back to fighting.
See, when they start saying that stuff, though,
I
start saying
get
that stuff.
But like I said, Chandler, I am a big Michael Chandler fan. I will tune in whenever he fights.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
just too wild for me.
Too entertaining, but too wild.
Oh,
Yeah.
God forbid he's too entertaining.
I mean,
Man.
Dude,
I meant
if
to say
you're-
so entertaining, too wild.
If you're building a promotion from scratch, Michael Chandler should be the first lightweight you pick. Might be a hot take. Why wouldn't you take Islam? Well, because Islam doesn't always have the most appealing fights.
Yeah.
He's a
Not like
grinder.
Michael Chandler.
Chandler's bringing in people to watch because he's coming to die on the sword
Yeah.
if need be.
And then last big piece of news, Pitbull Freire, however you say his last name, the big Bellator guy. We all know who we're talking about here. Bellator's featherweight champion for a long time. He's been around forever. One of the few names where I really thought, man, if that guy was in the UFC as the Bellator champ right now, he really would have he would have a chance to make a little noise, and he's there. He's 37 now, so time's not on his side, but he's fighting Yair Rodriguez. So we got a jiu-jitsu guy primarily versus Yair, the wild kickboxer. So that being said, I'm excited for that fight. We're going to start to see more Bellator guys come over, I think. Pitbull said that if he didn't get a UFC contract done, he was just going to retire. So I'm happy to see him in the UFC.
Add another one. And, well, that leads us to everyone's favorite minute of our show, and that is the Wrestling Minute.
Oh,
Patty ain't
boys.
Charles or Dustin. That's true. That is very true. That is very true.
Yes.
We'll see. I don't know, man. I don't see Chandler getting by the jiu-jitsu of Patty if it goes to the ground. If he keeps it standing, yeah, he's going to knock him out, I think.
Yeah,
Patty will just chin like that almost. Like,
Wait,
it's-
that's not how you're supposed to fight?
But
You know? Hands down?
in Liverpool, I guess, yeah, that's how they're teaching them to do it.
Well, don't go anywhere, folks, because we're going to talk. We got at least one more topic in the MMA world after the Wrestling Minute. I've got to give Clayton his flowers on something. But since we're here, let's do a little preview of the Elimination Chamber. However, before we look into that card, I do have a bit of wrestling news. We'll call it a rumor because that's all it is at the moment. But fellas, there are some reports that one Vincent Kennedy McMahon is in discussions with one Fox television network to produce a wrestling program. And for those of you who don't know, SmackDown used to be on Fox. It is no longer there. So, guys, your thoughts on Fox potentially trading out their WWE contract to work with what will at best be the third biggest wrestling promotion that would be under Mr. McMahon?
Well, I mean, haven't we heard this coming for a while? I mean, I feel like I've been throwing you hints at hey, I'm pretty sure McMahon isn't out of the business for good, even though I know you want him to be. He can't seem to keep his nose out of wrestling, and making a fool of himself too. So he'll probably make an ass of himself on Fox, just like he has in the past. But I feel like we're all here for him to make another mistake, so we can all criticize him and make fun of him some more. So I'm excited for it.
Oh yeah, dude, give me more wrestling, good, bad, cheesy. It'll be something to see, definitely. Wade, what about you? You're familiar with the old Vince McMahon programming. You think there's a place for that here in 2025?
That boy needs to just go somewhere, die in a corner. Why does he keep trying to come out?
He's got more money than God, man. Just post up. Like, you got multiple beach houses. Pick one and go hang out. Write a book or something.
Dude, move to the Florida Keys and retire and be happy.
Yes.
What are you trying? Why? Just why?
You are a millionaire and your wife is in the fucking cabinet of the at the White House, right? Like, you don't need this job, my guy. You do not need it. Only bad things can happen. This is like, my mom used to say, nothing ever happens good after 2 a.m., right? Just stay home, keep your phone away. Mr. McMahon, you're past 2 a.m. in your life, all right? Nothing good happens after this point. Just stop. All that can happen is you can tarnish what is left of your reputation.
Whoa, what reputation?
Yeah.
I feel like his reputation's right there with the Hulk Hogan right now.
I mean,
brother.
not wrong.
Yeah, brother.
That's why. Take your money, split, disappear. You're like 87 years old.
Dude, if I had half that money, y'all would never see me again.
Right?
Like, no one would ever see me. I'd have an island somewhere that I today don't even know exists, but I'd be there with that kind of money. Incredible. 2 a.m. I'm pretty sure it's midnight these days. Yeah, this was pre-pandemic. We had different.
Yeah,
that's good. Thank you. I need to rescale that. Okay, so Elimination Chamber, guys. To refresh anybody who's been out of the game with the WWE, how this works now, much like the the Royal Rumble, whoever wins this match, both the men's and the women's Elimination Chamber, will have a guaranteed championship match at WrestleMania, which coincidentally enough was just announced that next year's WrestleMania will be in New Orleans. So, hey, man, TKO's already doing some work over there. So bodes well for our other topic. We have, of course, the women's group, which I think will be a good match. I don't know that you guys are going to be too tapped in or tuned into what happens there, but lots of good talent in the ring for the Elimination Chamber women's match. We do have a blood feud. Kevin Owens taking on Sami Zayn. They are both Canadians. Wrestling in Toronto, so they weren't quite big enough to be in WrestleMania this year, but they're going to have basically a death match. One of those. I love this, and as folks who deal with commissions and having sanctioned fights, guys, this one is, and I use this in the WWE sense because they're having an unsanctioned fight. They're advertising. Yeah, it's not official. It's unsanctioned, which is definitely a real thing. So we'll have our blood and guts ECW match. Two guys who, for what it's worth, have worked together all the way from the indies. So these two, they've been best friends. They've had more backstabs, I think, than anyone in wrestling history because they're real friends. So they always want to work together. So they turn on each other every couple of years. It's a bit of a meme at this point, but it's good to see. From a time period, these guys were in Ring of Honor in the early 2000s. Kevin Owens is a dude who, how do I even say it? Like, he's a big guy. Like, he's not in good shape. He's, not what you would think of. Like, the fact that Vince McMahon ever hired this guy is kind of mind blowing. Like, he never accused this guy of being on steroids, anything like that. Sami Zayn wrestled as El Generico, who was a mute luchador, a mute white dude luchador was his gig. Like, these are some of the most carny out there ideas. The fact that these guys were able to perfect their craft over 20 years and are now main eventers for WWE. I'm happy for them to have that kind of a match. We also will have the champion Cody Rhodes. Now, guys, I didn't get to talk to you about this because this happened between last week's episode and now. It's WrestleMania season, which means The Rock has thrown himself back into the picture because he can do that as a member of the board. Who cares what storylines you've been building for the last year? I'm here now, and I want to be a part of it. So The Rock has offered, he wants to buy the champion's soul. So we will get our decision on Saturday as to whether or not Cody Rhodes will sell his soul to The Rock. Zach, any thoughts? Do you want to see The Rock wrestle again? How long is this minute? I'm sorry, it's a long minute. The wrestling hour.
The wrestling minutes. Just throw an S on there.
I'm tired of seeing The Rock. If I'm being honest, I'm tired of seeing The Rock. The Rock needs to stay in his Hollywood side of the world now. He's turned in his WWE wrestling stuff for movie fame, and he needs to stay there. All right, he's not a John Cena, where John Cena was a B-rated movie guy. Let's be honest. He was never in any A-listing movies.
Hey, it was Ricky Stanicki.
That's still a B-style film, buddy. That's not
How
an A-style.
dare you talk about Suicide Squad, the second one that wasn't a sequel.
But you know what I mean? Like, so I can see John Cena going back and forth because he's not the superstar that The Rock is when it comes to movies. I mean, The Rock has put out some A-list type of movies. He just has. All right. Once you move over, I feel like you're there. You're stuck there. Kind of like I feel like Conor McGregor kind of went to the movies. Now he needs to stay there. All right. You're done with fighting. As much as I'd love to see you fight again, you're never going to be the old Conor McGregor you're going to be. Stick with movies because honestly, you're a great villain. Stick to it. You'll make a lot more money doing that, and you won't get hurt. And you won't break a leg again.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Like he's transitioned into that Hollywood blockbuster ego figure. Stay there, because
definitely ego.
You're not. I feel like he's not cutting promos like he used to. It wasn't.
No, now he just says fuck as many times as he can. Like that's his whole deal now. It's like you can't censor me. I will say fuck on national TV because I'm The Rock. That's his whole thing now.
Oh. Yeah, he's just not living it anymore.
How bad do you want me to date you guys?
I'm ready for it.
I didn't know. I was either in 8th grade or a freshman in high school that The Rock was a pro wrestler. Had no idea. I just assumed he was a Hollywood actor. Had no clue. I remember hearing that. I think my dad remarked that when we were driving home from the Jumanji movie. I was like, what? So I looked it up. And I was like, oh, like he actually like did stuff. He's not just an actor that played football. Like that. Yeah. So
can you smell what The Rock is cooking?
My generation definitely recognizes him, I think, more as an actor than a WWE wrestler.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That definitely tracks. And the last little bit, my last thought on the Elimination Chamber is there are 5 real wrestlers in the main event, any one of which, maybe 4 out of the 5, would be a good fit for a title match. The other one is, of course, Logan Paul, who also needs to find something else to do. Because he's
got a new series, remember, on HBO.
Yeah, on HBO. Everyone, please go watch it. Please watch that.
Yeah, I will be tuning in for every episode. That's for sure. That's what I will be doing with my whatever day that comes out. Mm-hmm.
So there we have it, folks. That was your Wrestling Minute. And now I have to divert back to the MMA world because Clayton was spot on last week. He made a prediction that I felt like he should be able to celebrate. So Dylan Budka has announced his next fight. I believe it's going to be May 17th in Rossford, Ohio. American Fight Promotions Fight 102. So Clayton, you were right, sir. The floor is yours. Congrats.
I was pretty happy, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of threw it out there thinking, okay, it's a new promotion that's coming up. They're kind of looking to make a name for themselves. Thought that they might have a chance. But I don't know how many people know this. The guy that he's fighting now was the guy he was supposed to fight when he fought Dan Stevenson. I think he broke a couple fingers, maybe something like that. I think I remember hearing, but he hurt himself like right before this happened. Just didn't fight. He had one fight in Bellator, a couple fights in the LFA. So I was a little disappointed as a fan when that didn't get to happen. He's lost a couple fights since then, but also has won another one. So this is probably going to be the main event of that show, if I had to guess. Like Dylan was in the UFC, or why would you not main event him? That wouldn't make any sense to me. But excited to see him get back in there for sure. He's been working hard, I'm sure, since everything that happened with the UFC. So looking forward to seeing him get back in there and start the climb again.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep, and he said that's his last fight at 185.
Yep.
So
every fight from go on is going to be at welterweight, 170.
How dare you? That's a classic.
I agree with Mike on this one. Connor should be a wrestler. That should be his next thing.
Yes, that would be fine. Yeah, that's my bad. that makes sense. But Hurricane, I want to address a couple of your other comments. So, first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen at home, if you have not watched Michael Chandler versus Eddie Alvarez in Bellator, 2 incredible fights. Chandler submitted Alvarez in the first one and lost a decision. I can't remember if it was a UD or a split. But yeah, crazy fight. Shogun Hendo won.
Yeah.
All due respect, but that is a great fight. That is one of the best old Bellator fights you will see. Go back and watch that. And number 2, yeah, I know Patty ain't do Bronx either, but what he is he's a young star. Young, I say he's young. He's 30, so he's getting to that like point of where the UFC is really going to want to push him. He's from the UK. You know, the UK is a region that the UFC always wants to build up because there's a ton of fans there. And I don't think right now there is a champ from the UK, if I'm mistaken, because Leon lost his belt.
Leon lost it.
Yeah, there's no current UK
Tom
champ.
Aspinall he's
an interim champ. Yeah. Okay, Tom Aspinall. We'll give that to him because he is the real heavyweight champion. We all know that.
He is.
But like,
nope. John Jones.
Kev's about ready. Kev's ready to punch his computer for sure. But
I'm gonna handle this in UFC 4. I'm too broke for 5.
I do think that the advantage. I do think that he kind of has the UFC on his side too. So we'll see. That's an interesting fight. That's very much so a stylistic clash. And if Patty wins this fight, you can say he's ready for a title shot, but even if he does win, he's not beating Islam. Like that's
tough. That's a tough.
That's just not gonna happen.
Speaking of, I don't know if you guys went over that when I stepped out, but Taporia vacating his belt, moving up to lightweight. How do you feel? Do you think he deserves that Islam fight right away?
No.
I think the reason he moved up, in my opinion, was because realistically, think guys, he had nothing to gain at featherweight anymore.
Nothing.
Right? Like he beat the 2 best guys, and realistically, say Diego Lopez is next. What does he gain more in a fight with Diego Lopez, a title fight, or does he gain more in a 5-round fight with like Charles Oliveira?
Yep.
Yeah.
I gotta go with the Charles Oliveira fight, right? Like I don't know if like money's clearly not an issue with a guy. I don't know if you guys follow him on Instagram.
No, yeah, he's
very, very clearly not a problem for him. But I think he moved up because he had more to gain at lightweight, which I think is objectively true. Does he deserve a title shot right away?
No.
I can't say so. You know, it'd be really funny is if he stepped up and fought Justin Gaethje. If he steps up against Justin Gaethje, fights him and beats him, yeah, give it to him. I'll buy that. That makes all the sense in the world to me. Why would you not jump on that?
He needs at least a fight or 2 before I feel like he can step into for the belt.
I would agree with that.
I don't even think 2. I think one top 5 fight
one quality win, I think,
Yeah.
would be enough.
I think so too. I think they don't want to just throw him straight up in there with Islam only because obviously Volk did it.
Yeah.
Didn't turn out right. So they
I don't know.
want
That first fight, I still feel like Volk won that fight. I don't care what you say. That first fight, Volk won it. That's
Volk-
my
I would
honest
agree.
God
I
opinion.
thought Volk won, edged it out, but he left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My- If
I
I
just
was
agree.
when,
Oh, go ahead, Clayton.
when I was watching that fight, again, that was at B-Dubs and Bowling Green. When I was watching that fight after the horn blew, I was like, because Volk had a great 5th round,
Yep.
but I still thought, okay, he was down 3-1 going into the 5th. Just
Was it the
objective
first or second fight?
in the first fight. I thought that he was down 3-1 going into the 5th, and I think I was right. It was a UD, right? And they had it 48-47. Let me double check that.
Yeah, I wasn't happy.
was
I just
close.
remember I wasn't happy at the call of that fight.
But like, regardless of if he won or not, that is the single best performance I think I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that, it's obviously he didn't win, but jumping up a weight class against a guy like that who comes from, the great camp that he does and trains with, the guys that he does, that is about as good as we've seen everyone. That's about as good as we've seen everyone do. The second fight, he stepped up and tried. Like, kudos to him. Charles Oliveira got cut sparring. There wasn't, I don't know. I wasn't surprised by the outcome, but it just ripped my heart out of my chest.
I know. I like Volk.
Yeah, he's such a likable dude too. He gets in there. He's fun to watch. Like his fight with Yair Rodriguez on International Fight Week. That's another one of my favorites. Ended up beating him with a 3rd round KO. Just a super fun fight. Him and Brian Ortega, another one. We don't really have to talk about his fights with Max because that also hurt me really bad, but we can move on from that. Like, he had 5 title defenses, and it's just, we'll see. That's one of my favorite fights I've ever watched, easily, was Volk Islam 1.
Yeah, I agree. He fought Topuria way too soon, I think. He should have a little more time off.
He needed more time. It's with more time, like if they fought, say he takes a year off after the Islam KO and Topuria wins an interim belt, I would have loved to have seen that because then Volk's got a year, to get his wits back about him, get to training, rest a little bit. Man, what a different world we could be in right now.
Right.
Exactly. Well, I think that wraps up this episode.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for watching. Where can they find you guys? Clayton?
You guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at cscalina12. Make sure to follow me. Tweet at me when you guys are watching the fights this weekend because I will also be watching the fights on my phone at the Blue Jackets versus Red Wings outdoor game. I plan on having it on my phone just so I can watch what we're doing, be what it be. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. Follow my podcast at Hot Take Sports 16 on all your social medias. And yeah, make sure to tune in. Kev, you're doing all kinds of stuff now, man. Where can we find you?
Yeah, it depends on the day, really. But you can find me over on Bite Size Sports talking about other sports outside of the combat world. And if you are a nerd of other things, not just fight nerds, but if you're, for instance, a Star Wars nerd, you can come hang out with me over at Dweeb. We will be talking about some breaking news in that space. Not the world of the MMA is not the only crazy. What do we have? 8 different news stories today. I got a busy week this week, so go check me out there, or just follow me on social media at KevNevic_. Zach, where can they find you when you get out of your NyQuil coma?
Well, when and if. You can find us on all Carnage Media PPV, which is YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. And you can also find us at carnagemediappv.com, where you can check out any upcoming events we've got going. You can also subscribe to our $5 Fight Club, where you can watch all of our past fights of the 2025 year. So go out there and check us out.
Absolutely. Like I said, Carnage Media PPV. We just had a free charity event that we shot last weekend, so go check that on YouTube, and stay tuned at carnagemediappv.com. You guys have a wonderful night, and thanks for watching.
See ya.